Welcome everyone. My name is David Pine. I'm the one of the regional directors of the Keep My Voice organization that we've formed, formerly Keep Our Caucuses. And we are here at this public meeting here in Draper to talk about our Freedom of Association initiative, which we are going to be filing and starting here this week. I'd like to introduce the co-chair of this meeting. That's Cheryl Eager. Cheryl Eager is a fellow region director with responsibility for East County area. I'm responsible for the Western County as well as Tooele County. So just a little bit about our initiative. This initiative is all about, it's about empowering the voter. It's about restoring the voice of our citizens, of our registered voters here in Utah. And it's a nonpartisan effort. It's an effort that is being supported by Democrats, Constitution Party members, and Republicans, and perhaps other third party parties that may have signed on as well. So
we're attention, please. The library will be closing in 30 minutes at 9 o'clock. If you need to get a library card or pay a fine, please go to the checkout desk immediately.
Thank you for that public announcement. So this is not an initiative that's about a certain set of political principles other than American and Republican principles. We're not solely conservatives or solely centrists or anything like that. We don't support or oppose any given candidate for public office. This is about empowering the voter, restoring their voice, which was taken away by Count My Votes, SB 54, Senate Bill 54, which was passed by the state legislature, which forces all the political parties in the state to have this dual-track nomination process, which was never voted on or decided by the political parties themselves. So let's talk a little bit about the details. One of the great things about the Count My Voice initiative is it protects freedom of association. So as part of the First Amendment, we have the right to free speech. We also have the right to freedom of association. So we should have the right, every private organization should have the right to keep its own rules. As was mentioned previously, we wouldn't want the state to dictate how a church, for example, picks its own leaders or who is allowed to join that church. That's part of our constitutional rights. It also fully restores the integrity of the caucus convention process. So our caucus convention system, previous to SB 54, each political party had the right to nominate caucuses or nominate a candidate at convention, and if they reached a certain voting threshold, in the case of the Republican Party it was 60% and still is, then that candidate was the convention winner and would be the nominee that went straight to the general election. Under SB 54, the power and the purpose of the convention system has been heavily eroded so that we can have a convention winner and we can have convention losers challenge the convention winner in a party primary, as was the case with the special election for the third congressional district last year, and defeat the convention winner. So we also want to point out that there were some fiscal studies that were presented or provided by the Lieutenant Governor's Office over the past few days here on this past Friday, February 2nd. And these studies showed that our initiative would save the taxpayers almost $2 million over a 10-year period, whereas the Count My Vote initiative that we're opposing would cost the taxpayers about $16.5 million. And so we are championing not only empowering the voter, but also the principle of fiscal responsibility. And also, I want to point out that one of the criticisms that we have received is that we were taking away the signature track for candidates to be on the ballot through signatures. Actually, that's not true. We've had, previous to SB 54 and subsequent to our initiative, when it passes, an unaffiliated candidate can get on the general election ballot by getting a certain number of signatures. So that would still be the case if this were to pass. And I have a few other comments, but I'd like to let my co-chair here, Sherilyn, talk about why she believes this is an important initiative.
Thank you. You don't fully appreciate the uniqueness of a caucus convention system until you are a candidate in that system. And I had the extreme honor to be a part of that. And as a candidate, I must say that there is never another system in existence that allows you or I, not multimillionaires, not much name recognition, to be able to be up in front of delegates in a Republican form of government, representing their neighborhoods and the people on an equal standing. And that simply is not possible with an open primary system. When you have to go to an open primary, it is almost required that you be a multimillionaire. Now, that's not grassroots. That's not the American way. That is the lobbyist way. That is what is wrong with government right now. And it favors incumbents. And this particular year that I ran, in fact, an incumbent was running in the caucus, and he was defeated by a young man who is now our U.S. Senator in Utah. And that young man did not have multi-million dollars as well. So that's an example of what is so wonderful and unique about this caucus system. The other side, the Count My Vote initiative that's out there, you are going to hear that this is all about empowering and enfranchising all of the voters, and that the caucus system really limits. But I want to tell you that everywhere I have been amongst the people that support Count My Vote are actually doing and acting in just the opposite way. I sit on the State Central Committee of the Republican Party, and in our last meeting, I witnessed them multiple times throughout that meeting trying to limit your voice, trying to limit the number of delegates that would represent you, trying to reduce the number of people that would represent you. And that is wrong, and it's deceptive, and I hope that those that are paying attention to this counter initiative, the Keep My Voice initiative, will keep that in mind, that this caucus system truly does empower the people. I grew up in the state of California. Never did I have an opportunity to be face-to-face in front of candidates that were running for high offices on the federal level. When I lived in the state of Connecticut, by the way, this system that Count My Vote is trying to pressure Utahns to adopt is exactly the system that we had in Connecticut. It was ripe with fraud. It lent itself to a plural election system instead of an election by majority. These are not the ideals that the founders wanted for us. But first and foremost, what this is about is the right of association. This is a constitutional issue. And this is why Keep My Voice is so important to each and every one of the people of the state of Utah, because every single one of us has a constitutional protection under the First Amendment to freely assemble together and to not have elected officials limit that power and not have elected officials intervene in your private organization, in your private corporation, or in your religious body. And that is something that I believe if our founders were here today, they would be absolutely appalled that this is happening. And so we want to make sure that your vote is heard, that your voice is kept. And so we want you to join in with us. Keep your voice. Keep my voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherilyn. So One of the things that we're trying to reestablish is to have a vetting process. That's what the caucus convention system does. And that has been badly eroded by SB 54 because now you can have the candidates vetted, you can have someone win a convention, and the will of the delegates, all their hard work in studying the candidate, representing the people who elected them through our Republican system of government, can be completely thrown away. And a convention loser, as was the case in the third congressional district special election this past year, can defeat a convention winner. And so we want to return, to re-empower the voter. And when I say that, I mean any registered voter who's a member of a political party can show up at their political party's caucuses on caucus day, which this year is March 20th, and they can run as a county delegate, they can run as a state delegate, and they can have a say in multiple different races between local county elections all the way to federal elections. And that's been a really great system that we've had. And I want to point out, some people have said, well, you guys are just a bunch of far-right people or right-wing extremists, and that's what you're trying to get accomplished and elected. And in fact, the caucus convention system pre-SB 54 produced such well-known right-wing extremists as Gary Herbert, Orrin Hatch, all of which are not extremists at all, very centrist. And so the system that we're trying to restore would also enable the nomination of centrists, not just party diehards, be they conservative or liberal, depending on the party. Okay, and we talked.
Just 15 minutes. If you're using a meeting room, please vacate the room now.
Okay, we got to wrap this up. Just wanted to mention that it's about empowering people to hold their politicians accountable. Incumbents are reelected at 93+% rate. The caucus convention system gives a low-money challenger the chance to challenge that incumbent and potentially defeat the incumbent.
Okay, a couple more quick comments before we have to close. First of all, the caucus convention system that we have right now has just the right threshold for electing people through a primary or by nominating the one nominee that goes to the general election in the convention. That's been proven by our former state representative, Fred Cox, who's here tonight. And so we know that we have just the right balance in our caucus convention system without SB 54. So that needs to be defeated, and this is the way to do it. The other thing to keep in mind is elections can be very, very expensive. When you have to reach millions of people with a message, it's costly. Our media outlets, our consultants out there stand to make a whole lot of money from having this caucus convention system eliminated. And they want to keep control of it. These are the big party bosses who can afford to hire these lobbyists and consultants. And by the way, you should know that this is where this all began. It did not begin in Utah. It began from a lobbyist firm in Washington, D.C. Are you surprised? This is not the people of Utah that Count My Vote is representing, but we the people represent Keep My Voice.
With that, we'd like to thank everyone who participated in this meeting and the questions that were asked prior to the meeting. We hope that you are all as excited as we are about getting this initiative passed. We do believe we will get all the support we need, but we request your help. We urge you to sign up and volunteer. Patty Bateman, our senior staff from headquarters, is here to sign you guys up. Anyone who wants to volunteer, and we'll be directing you where you can go to sign the initiative once that gets underway this week. So, yeah, any questions? Okay. thanks again to Sherilyn, to Patty in the back, as well as Chris Knoll, our Deputy Regional Director for Salt Lake County, and former Representative Fred Cox, among the most notable people in our audience. Well, again, thanks again, and we look forward to answering your questions and signing up any volunteer who would like to join us. Thank you.